Today, in this webinar, we want to provide attendees with a comprehensive understanding of AI in finance and how AI is transferring the finance industry in the next 10 years. So a couple of housekeeping items. We want this to be as interactive as possible, so please feel free to use the chat function, add questions to the Q&A section so that the panelists can address any questions you may have in the Q&A portion that we have here at the end. So now to kick us off, I'd like to to introduce you to our speakers that we have today. If you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah, we're just kind of giving it a couple of more minutes.
Sure.
People are still joining, if you don't mind.
No.
Yeah, I'm just moving to the next one. Give it a moment. Okay, I think we have enough, so we can start. All right, let's go ahead.
So for our first speaker on our panelists today, we have Hemant Madan. He's the founder and CEO of Jump Growth. He's an experienced entrepreneur and founder with a deep background in IT and digital solutions over the past 20 years. So Hemant, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about yourself and about Jump Growth and what you do there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Claudia, and thanks everybody to join the call today. I think it's an exciting webinar. We're looking forward to share the knowledge about AI and finance, and we have amazing panelists with us along with me. So my name is Hemant. I'm an entrepreneur, as Claudia said. I've been doing this for the past 20 years. I run a few companies. The one that I'm representing today is called Jump Growth. We are a digital solutions, app development organization spread across two continents in India and US. I'm based out of Richardson, Texas, which is in Dallas. And I would be happy to share my humble knowledge with you around AI. We've been working in AI for some years now, and happy to share what I've learned. And as Claudia said, it's an interactive session, so would love to share the experiences and learn from you as well. I'll pass the mic back to Claudia and then take from there.
Yeah. And then our second panelist today is Raj Tilshan. He's the founder and managing member of Loan Mantra, which is a financial advisory firm with best-in-class proprietary fintech. So Raj, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do at Loan Mantra, please?
Sure, absolutely. Claudia and Hemant, thank you again for having me on this webinar. Hi, everyone. I am Raj Tulshan, founder of Loan Mantra. We are a financial advisory and an end-to-end fintech platform. Loan Mantra's mission is to democratize lending for all. Working with businesses across continental US, we have access to diverse lender base and have a unique perspective on what small businesses go through each day. We ourselves are a small business, so whether you're looking for a loan for 5,000 or 50 million, our goal is to provide best-in-class technology and financial tools to help you secure the capital. I began my career in finance, working in an investment bank in New York City. However, I became excited about entrepreneurship while earning my MBA at the University of Oxford. In these experiences, I honestly recognize that small businesses are not always given the same resources as publicly held institutions. So I wanted to change that, and Loan Mantra is a way for us to change that. So I look forward again to a good and a healthy discussion on this.
So let's get into our presentation here. Go ahead and kick it off, Hemant.
All right, thank you, Claudia. And to kick it off, as Claudia said, I wanted to kind of neutral. I want to keep it neutral and do not want to get too technical about things. So I wanted to start and kick off the deck today by talking about what really is AI in a more generic and broader sense without getting too technical about it. So I wanted to kind of compare AI, artificial intelligence or machine intelligence with human intelligence. And this slide kind of does good justice about it. And if I have to kind of explain artificial intelligence to people in layman terms, I would say that it is the ability of machines to be able to act or react like humans do in real life tasks or real life situations, or at least that is what we are aiming for. Now, how did we reach here? And when we compare that with how humans behave in different scenarios intelligently, if you observe right from childhood, we as humans consume different experiences or experience different experiences or learn from other experiences where our mind kind of sort of forms these disciplines or silos of what our brain has understood out of these experiences, and then kind of stores it in somewhere, on how to react or act on certain situations which are like new to me as a human or to us as a human. So if you see, the experiences kind of are generalized in our brain into these disciplines. And then whenever we come across any new problem or we have to solve a new problem, we use those experiences which we have learned from our friends, from our parents, from our teachers, from school, whatever. And then we kind of, on the basis of what we have learned, we try to solve that new problem with the with those disciplines and the work that we have learned from, and get to the future, and we act and react on it. Similarly, when humans started building artificial intelligence or machine intelligence, it was, and it's not new. We have been working on AI for a very long time, although I must say things have kind of exploded in the past 3 to 5 years. But historically speaking, humans always wanted machines to start behaving or end up behaving like humans intelligently. And the way they are able to do that today is because of all this great advancement that we have done in technology, in software applications, in infrastructure, and things like that. And when I compare the human intelligence with artificial or machine intelligence, you would see that artificial intelligence kind of starts with the historical data that is given to to a machine program, which we call as a model. And this model kind of gets trained on the historical data that is provided to this software program, which we call as model. And on the basis of that historical data, it gets trained, and we can tweak this training process and then store all the experiences, if I may, and all the things that that model has learned, and we can then save it on a hard disk, literally. And then when the new data is provided to these models, then that model can produce or predict the new results, very similar to humans, the way humans behave on the basis of experiences. Although I must say, humans are still more intelligent than artificial intelligence as of today. But it's getting there. It's a work in progress. Things have gone so better. And I must say, we are still at the tip of an iceberg. There's so much to be done in AI space, but the way it is rapidly growing, I think we will be soon there as well. To give you some perspective, if I may, if people have seen Matrix, which is a great movie, if you might have seen Neo in that, and when Neo goes into Matrix, they load a program to teach him kung fu, and he says, hey, you know what, I now know kung fu. So it's almost like that, where you can now save these intelligent models onto the hard disk, and then can be loaded onto the computers or these large AI servers, and then can be given these inputs to get new outputs out of it. This is what is happening when you are using the chat GPTs or the llamas of the world today, where these these are called large language models or LLMs. And these large language models are they have already been trained on billions and billions of data points, which enables them to answer these questions which you ask, or the prompt, as we know, it kind of ingests that prompt and checks out the data which it is already trained on, and gives you the best output. So that is what is happening over there, and that's what a model is in today's scenario. um, Going forward, I wanted to briefly talk about the adoption of AI. And I've taken the source from McKinsey. They did a survey in 2024 about the adoption of companies, on how many companies have really adopted the AI. And if you see, just in 7 years, it has grown from 20% to over 70% in these 7 years. And a large portion of that has been because of the explosion that we have seen with the LLM and the GPT and the OpenAI of the world today. But still, there is a long way to go. If you see the department wise adoption, marketing and sales is kind of leading the pack over there because they have been using generative AI, and my marketing people would vouch for it. They've been all using generative AI to generate content for social media now, doing so many different things, even creating slide deck, over there and things like that. And so it is followed by IT and other, other service operations, human resources, and things like that. And while I moved to financial companies, the survey also talks about the adoption into different industries. And I picked the data point of financial companies. As I said, it's still a long way to go. There is there is still 57% or more companies which are having only 5% or less of their overall digital spend being done on AI. Whereas there is still a silver lining. There is over 40% of companies which are already spending over 6% of their digital budget in AI. So things are picking up pretty soon and pretty fast, if I may. And I think things are going pretty fast. And uh, just confirming, can everybody see the deck? Because I see there's one person who was not able to see the deck. Just want to
Him,
confirm.
Hemant, I apologize. I believe a couple of people are having problem with the data.
Okay. And all right. Should I try it another way? Hmm, wait. Let me try something else. I'm sorry, guys. Hmm, sorry, technical glitches.
I guess we need AI to fix this in the future.
Yeah, I wish. I wish. Okay, can everybody see it now?
Yes, I can, Hemant.
Is this looking better now?
Yes, yes, it's seeming that can see it now. Perfect.
Okay, looks like there's some problem. All right, so I was talking about the numbers, I was talking about the adoption, and as I was talking about the companies, I would just like to repeat that in the last 7 years, the adoption has grown literally from 20% to over 70% in the companies. And a large part of it because of the adoption of LLMs and the chat GPTs of the world, which has really helped us scale that adoption from almost from 50% to 72%. Today, 72% of the companies are using AI in one or the other form. And just before this call, me and Raj were talking that we are in love with ChatGPT. We are kind of using it every day now. Um, and the second, data point is even more interesting on department-wise adoption, where the departments which are really leading the pack are marketing and sales, the product development, which are using today's generative AI to generate a lot of content that they require in terms of product development, in terms of marketing, social media content, and things like that. So there is a lot of adoption that is being led by these different departments that are there. And I also picked up a data point because of today's topic about financial companies. So the digital budget that are being spent by financial companies in the survey by McKinsey tells us that there are still 57% companies which are spending 5% or less of their digital budget on AI. But there is a silver lining where over 40% of these companies are actually spending more than 6% of their digital budget on AI. And things are booming. They are just doubling the budget every year on AI. And I talk to so many executives from different industries. There is a huge interest from every part of the world and every industry that I've spoken to. Over to the next slide. I wanted to briefly talk about how is AI really helping, and this is not in perspective or in context of financial companies, but in general. how is AI helping people? How is AI helping businesses today? And the most obvious thing that we've all seen is the customer service and support, where a lot of we have all interacted with these banking and airline bots where simple questions can now be answered using LLM models similar to ChatGPT, where you can ask these questions, and it is using a concept called RAG, where this support articles or support, the customer support articles and different content is now being fed into these private LLM large language models, which can now be used by these bots to automatically answer simpler questions for a lot of users. I think we've all been there pretty much. Um, Moving to recommendations and marketing, I think that's the next most obvious set, which I think a lot of departments and a lot of marketing departments, a lot of companies are using today, where the marketing department is using to generate the content and recommendations. That we've all used recommendation engine or at least be part of it when we use Amazon and when we use Netflix. And we all have seen the recommended products or recommended movies or recommended shows. All that is done using AI, being fed the data, historical data of years and years that they've been gathering to show the recommendations as per the user's profile. Um, the automation in terms of process optimization, customer service, decision making. This is a stream of AI which has been, I think, gaining momentum for the past almost a decade now, where RPA kind of led, robotic process automation kind of led the initiative. And it is being used already by a lot of companies to automate the mundane tasks of, let's say, automating the AP process or the AR process, where these invoices are being sent and then automatically organized as per the amount of that invoice, and so automating these small processes, or you know automating the process of applying for leaves or approval of leaves or approval of social media content. So these small process automations can be done using AI already and being done using AI already today. Pattern recognition and image processing is another way where AI is already helping a lot of people and a lot of businesses. We today hospitals and health systems of the world are already using image processing and pattern recognition in X-rays and diagnostic information. We did a we did a webinar last to last month about healthcare and how AI is helping in healthcare. And it was a big topic over there on how these images are being processed, the patterns are now being recognized to have early markers in long-term or long visible diseases like cancer and brains and things like that. And similar things are also being used by financial companies and compliance in different companies for fraud detection. For example, we can now scan the documents and automatically check if the document is, let's say, a good contender for fraud or things like that. So that's being done using pattern recognition already. um, Predictions and forecasting, again, a very great use case for AI in today's world, using data, a lot of data points. The brokerage firms of today can predict the models of they've created models which can predict different stock market scenarios, or simple predictions like, okay, if I put in these many resources in my B2B sales efforts, this is the kind of output I can expect on the basis of historical data that has been given to such sales forecasting or sales predictions, predicting models that they have. Then data analysis and insights, it's again another use case. And in no way or shape, these are all the use cases, but I picked up the use cases which are currently being used most often in the industry. And data analysis and insights is again a great use case for AI, where the data is being used to automatically identify the patterns and create great insights for executives and create automated reports on the fly using great data visualization techniques using AI. That's the future we are leading to. So that's how AI is helping in today's world. I now give the mic to Raj, with me, who's with me, and he would love to talk about Loan Mantra, and he would love to talk about how AI is changing Loan Mantra in the longer run. How is he envisioning that in the longer run? So over to you, Raj.
I appreciate him and thank you again. I've got to admit, all this conversation about AI innovation gets me excited as an entrepreneur. Truly, we at Lone Mantra, as you know it better than anybody else, Hemant, right? We continue to better our technology and thereby better serve our business community. Next week, we will be launching our website. The site will incorporate numerous AI features and tools. We work with the small business and users every day, like it's we on the phone with them, emailing them, etc. And we understand from the people that they hate repetitive tasks, especially tasks that is not part of their daily routine. So what we did was we built a technology in such a way so we can assist these individuals to express themselves more effectively. I'll give you a great example. One of my clients, one of my oldest clients, is he came into this country, new country. He used to wrap a sock around his hand and pump gas in the middle of the frigid Washington cold at gas stations across Washington. Today, the individual is the owner of a couple of gas stations and truck stop. He can very clearly articulate to you as an individual what how about his customer success, his customer needs, his vendors, his growth strategy. His biggest problem comes in is his ability to articulate that to a financial institution, and that's across the board. It happens to no matter who you are, and so what we have done essentially is we've tried to alleviate a lot of those problems, and by to do that we have incorporated AI tools and features into some of our borrow facing sites, such as the dashboard or the business history side or the personal profile and even the business plan. Look, not every one of us was fortunate enough to be able to sit down and just hash out a business plan. I believe with a little bit of effort, a small business owner can essentially articulate their thought very clearly that can translate into a small business lending institution. Um, and talking about lending institution, let's just look at the flip side of that, right? If you talk about lenders on a constant basis are looking at credit memos, are looking at cash flow, and on a regular basis they face issues that such as errors, redundancies, etc. What we have done is we have incorporated AI tools into credit memo, into the cash flow analysis, and essentially allowing them to complement on their daily use and reduce redundancies. In the long run, I believe that it will help overcome some of the anxieties that the business owners and in turn the financial institutions face with respect to data entry and help minimize errors. And from our perspective, it will thereby improve the outcome of a transaction. So overall, our goal at Loan Mantra is to be inclusive. Look, we are catalysts. We sit in the middle. So our goal is to take as much technology and incorporate it into our LOS to make it more efficient for our small business owners. So next slide. Here is where I can talk a little bit about how the adoption of AI in the services and insurance. I will tell you one thing throughout this conversation, you're going to hear me say the word however numerous times because I genuinely believe that AI is at a cusp of growth. It is not there yet. It's a revolution that's waiting to happen. It hasn't happened. So there will be the yin and the yang that we'll constantly talk about. It's going to take a minute for AI to get adopted, especially in the financial sector. I think just like the crypto industry, there will be a long road, a long and bumpy road for AI to get adopted into the financial sector. One of my colleagues brought up something very appropriately. She's like, remember how long it took for somebody to move from a banker to a search engine, and now from a search engine to a chatbot. It's that same timeline as if you factor it in. So AI is going to be, it's going to take them a minute. And look, having worked in the financial sector for a while now, we are at the 25-year anniversary of the dot-com boom and 20-year anniversary of Google IPO. We haven't seen any major innovation in the financial sector. It's all been derived. It's all about efficiency, cost reduction, etc. And I think that's where the direct benefit in the financial sector of AI will be. Um, in true essence, I think finance will be a secondary benefactor of innovation in other sectors, and in the next I will cover that. But before we go into that, I'll bring up a very good example. One of my favorite actually is, I'm sure a lot of us here on this have seen the movie Minority Report. In Minority Report, Tom Cruise's character gets a retina change. He walks into a store and the machine essentially scans his eyes and tells him, "Oh, Mr. So and so, welcome back," and makes a recommendation for him. Now, we're not even close to being there, right? We are at the cusp of revolution. Well, I'm 100% sure we'll get there. So, where are we now with AI? So, in the near future, I do believe that we'll see a more rule-based algorithm, more rule-based intelligence. After all, if you think about GPT, it's pre-trained generative transformation that is happening, and it is still, as Hemant pointed out earlier, it is still ridden with biases, data biases that it has to go through. So in the current environment, we'll be using it more for more obvious applications, and Hemant's gone through a lot of this, so I'll just skim through them. It's in the fraud detection, I know, and compliance. So I know, for example, that it is we are already using in real-time monitoring of transaction and financial activities to essentially identify suspicious activities in compliance. I mean, individuals who deal with compliance, they will be the significant benefactors, because essentially it will reduce costs and essentially complexity, essentially adhering to regulations. Talking about algorithm trading in that sector, we have already seen that predictive analytics has come a long way due to data mining. And I do believe that enhanced risk models will essentially allow for to mitigate some of the risks, such as geographic risk, environmental changes, and even social trends will have a significant impact on trading and as well as modeling for financial sectors. In a more comprehensive environment, I would say, is in auditing. For example, it will help detect inconsistency, reduce errors, data-driven decision making, dynamic pricing and underwriting will help in including people who are currently left out of the financial sector. Chatbots, we will hear a lot about chatbots. Hemant touched on this earlier. Here's my however moment on this one, right? So 99.9% of the time, chatbots will give you the right information that you will need from them. However, the problem happens, more than 50% of the humans would prefer interacting with another human being before they take on the final conclusion of chatbot. So right there is that, however, human perception moment that comes in. On the flip side of it, look, I was recently in India and I was absolutely amazed by how much embedded finance has gone into the whole socioeconomic system out there. I was absolutely taken back. So the AI is going to be helping out there significantly, more in the home turf in the US. I genuinely believe a repetitive task such as financial advising or even like robo advisory will become a very big deal in this industry. It's going forward in the larger scale. I've been reading up a lot on blockchain. I believe that blockchain is something that's been straggling for years. We've heard so much conversation about it being used in the title industry, it being used in currency or managing securities, etc. I do believe that AI is the right technology that will complement the blockchain technology to essentially help it grow to the next level and help with things like digital currencies and cross-border trading. That is, in my mind, is absolutely the next area of efficiency and cost reduction that is going to happen. So, having said that, I do believe that there is going to be all of these things that are going to happen. What we're not going to see, however, is an artificial intelligence, a machine doing billions of dollars of trade on behest of a financial institution or a human being. I think we are still about a decade away from that. I think the technology and the know-how and the biases have to be worked out before we really do get there. So there's always a yin and the yang, and you'll always hear me say, however, throughout this conversation. So work with me on this one. Um, Next slide, please. So this is what I was talking about earlier when I said finance will be the secondary benefactor to improvements and a revolution in the other sectors. Um, I'll start with another example, right? Last week we had Tropical Storm Debbie. My wife was in New Jersey, and she had to travel she had to suddenly travel to pick up my son from the camp, and then from the camp she had to stop over and get home. So the whole thing took a 3-day process, and there was a lot of stress involved with it. What I'm hoping that I envision seeing in the future is a AI-driven vehicle that will essentially will be given a set of features, commands to tell it, hey, there's a hurricane out there. I have to get to from point A to point B. I have to pick up so and so, and then I have to get to point C. And that will all be significantly fluid, essentially alleviating the stress and complementing the individual's ability to undertake a task. Now, what will that do? Think about that example, the futuristic example, right? Now that will have a significant impact on the hospitality industry, where people will not necessarily be for short range travel will have to go from check into a hotel, and also in the transportation sector where there will be commuting people will be commuting 24 hours a day rather than mostly during daylight time. The impact on that on the transportation sector, on the railway, the infrastructure, on insurance. My other example would be Hemant talked about healthcare sector. The other day I was reading about how AI saw patterns in breast cancer and essentially was able to predict breast cancer 5 years before it actually will be caught by our current technology. Imagine the evolution of that sort of healthcare in the human life form, right? Life expectancy increases, thereby changing the way we live. Also, that impacts life insurance, that impacts the healthcare system, that impacts the health insurance industry. So, and all of this will then reach out into the financial sector, where they will come up with innovative products, financial products that will help these industry cope with the changing of the efficiencies. So, in long run, I honestly believe that AI's role in finance today is going to be limited, and that growth trajectory, I do believe, is going to be a more flattened one than the ones most people predict it to be. However, in the long run, I do believe that it'll continue to grow, driving efficiency and innovation.
Great.
So, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Raj. I think this was amazing. I believe I do agree that a lot of these industries will have to lead the impact on finance in the longer run. If I may, so I think I wanted to briefly touch upon certain use cases that we have seen explode, worked with a lot of clients in the past 2 years on how things have impacted or changed or will be changing using AI. So these are certain use cases which we have either already worked upon or we've done some POCs for some customers. We built a GPT style chatbot for internal users with custom data. It was a client that had huge chunk of data. They wanted to have an internal GPT style chatbot. So not think about chat GPT, but with internal data. So we did RAG, which is a method where we augment a large LLM, host it on a private server, and then augment it with the data of our client, and then provide them with a chatbot using which they can interact with it. So example, an executive today can write a simple prompt, for example, comparing my sales from East Territory to West Territory in summers of the past 10 years. With a simple prompt, it would just tell me how did I do as a company in in that scenario. So all that can be now done using a chat bot where I can write prompts and it can access this data which has already been fed and trained on, and interact with it like a normal LLM, like a GPT style LLM today. We've also explored the possibility of doing technical analysis or various stock stickers and doing some tips and sending those tips in an email. We are exploring the loan underwriting, with Loan Mantra, if I may. We try to help in the loan underwriting process with using AI. Portfolio recommendation on the basis of financial picture of a person. So um, imagine, your net worth, your personal net worth, whole picture, understanding that, and then recommending various portfolio changes onto your investments or investment portfolios. We did fraud detection and quality checks in paper scans, where these papers or paper were scanned in PDF format, and they were scanned for specific quality checks or detecting the fraud in case if somebody is applying for something and they are putting in some fraud paperwork in there, we can detect it pretty quickly. We did some documentation for generating certain kind of reports which are being now generated using generative AI, pretty much a private sort of generative AI, which can now create these reports for loan proposals, the way Raj touched upon creating business plans in a similar fashion, creating proposals for applying for loans or applying for more funding. We did predictive analysis with historical data. We've also done an NLP based chatbot integration, which is the most simplest one for customer support for a client. And by the way, the image on the left was also generated using AI. So it's not the most beautiful person you can see, but it was just with a simple prompt of, a finance executive playing with AI in a banking kind of a system, and it just, hooked me up with this image. So it was really great. I wanted to put it up and kind of, play it like that. Um, but as we talk about future, as we talk about adoption, Raj mentioned that probably finance would come as a secondary adoption, or push in finance would come as a secondary industry. But when it moves over there, there will be a lot of challenges which would come. And these challenges are very important for us to understand today on how do we overcome them. The first and the most important challenge that we believe will be about data quality and availability. We need to understand that with years and years of data available with banks and financial services companies, this data today is so scattered in various systems that combining of this data and creating quality data, which can be then fed into generative models, itself is a huge task. So that data quality is going to be a challenge. And as it is said, an AI model is as good as the data it is being trained on. If we don't have unbiased, good quality data set, then the models that we're training that on, or the models that we're training on, are never going to be unbiased or good. So that's going to be the first challenge, which, as an industry, as financial industry moves forward with the AI adoption, would be, they would be facing. The second challenge, which I believe is regulatory, there's a ton of compliance today which is there available, but believe it or not, there is no compliance which was written by with keeping AI in mind. So with as AI systems move forward, these compliances will have to be changing. They have to be changing to adopt these new changes, the new AI that comes in. So we have to understand and be mindful of that as well. The legacy systems are, they have always been a pain in banking. I mean, I've worked with banks, companies where they are still running on mainframes, and now they're trying to modernize and bring them on cloud, which itself is a very, very big shift. Now imagine, now you have to kind of integrate AI on these legacy systems. It's a big shift. That's going to be a major challenge. And I can see Raj smiling already. We've been talking to various people in SBA and whatnot. It has been a big challenge talking to legacy systems. So that's one thing. Another thing is talent gap. I think we kind of always overlook this thing. There is there is all this talk about AI, talk about moving forward with AI, but are we really keeping up with the talent as well? There is a big gap that is being created today. We've seen a lot of talent being shifted, and we're talking about a lot of reskilling happening, but still there is a big gap which would come at that time when we really need to move to AI. And then the biggest of all, I think we've all seen and heard about cyber attacks and cybersecurity. It's real, guys. We need to talk about that. AI, as it moves forward, and if data is not secure, if there are loopholes, available, then this AI can be easily manipulated by, bad actors to perform various different things. I mean, who would want their bank accounts to be hacked and taken over by AI? So those things have to be kept in mind as we quickly adopt moving forward towards AI in finance. I believe these are five important points that I wanted to bring up and leave you with. That being said, I think we covered quite a bit of ground. Thank you, Raj. I would like to give the mic back to Claudia. And Claudia, if you have some questions, or if audience has some questions, we would love to
Yeah.
answer them and then take it from there.
Perfect. Yeah, like I said at the beginning, if you guys have any questions, please drop them in the chat or the Q&A, but we do have a few questions that have been sent. So you talked about this a little bit. We've all heard about AI bias. You just talked about it a little bit. What are some of the ethical considerations and potential biases that must be taken into account when you're implementing AI solutions in finance?
Yeah, good point. I think, Raj, you want to take it up? Or I
No,
think
go for it, Hemant, because I'm gonna have a contrarian view too. I'm pretty sure what you're gonna say, so go for it.
well, I believe that AI bias is real, and that's going to be even more real when we go to financial world. It's all about data, as I said. So, and the biggest challenge that we're going to see is about cleansing the data, having quality data from these disparate sources of data that's going to be coming from different applications. Now, last thing we want is that the data that's going to be riding a model which was supposed to be agnostic is now being driven or being biased towards a brand or towards a certain bank or towards a certain country, because now we're talking about large scale AI adoption on a global basis. And it's definitely going to be a big challenge which we have to keep in mind. And I think the only way we can do it is have some compliances in place, have some global body formed which would keep that in mind. I know, it is always going to create more bureaucratic red tape, but believe it or not, we would require it sooner than later. All governments would have to acknowledge that AI is changing, and AI is going to be the most obvious next step for everybody. And we need to have these compliances in place like GDPR and all that, or maybe modify them to have the possibility of keeping a check on these AI biasness, which would come and start creeping in as we move forward. Over to you, Raj, if you want to add something on that.
No, absolutely. So I'm surprised I'm not going to be that much of a contrarian to you, but I'm going to start off by saying one thing is I genuinely believe that there should be very little to no regulation and compliance as far as AI is concerned. I think Hemant's talked about a few things. He talked about how branding of AI based on the data that's provided. Look, anytime there's extra regulation or compliance, we've seen this in the world of finance, it stifles growth, and it is no matter what part of the world you're in, everybody looks up to the government, and government feels compelled to come up with regulations, thereby in my mind always stifling growth. And then again, the world of finance comes around it and works a way around it, and essentially that's the reason we are so amazing here. However, look, the other factor that people talk about is one of the things that I'm biggest scared about is through regulation, through compliance, under the garb of all of that, people, there's going to be a significant nationalism of AI. Which what I mean by that is country trying to control and own it and use it, because there is this belief in individuals, especially larger corporations, and by virtue of that larger governments, is that hey, if we control the next thing, which is AI, we will be able to dominate. And that's the reason I genuinely believe that nobody should control AI, or essentially the mechanism how we lead to from point A to point B. It was interesting when we were talking, when that whole Chat GPT thing happened, when the whole thing company blew up, etc. It almost felt like there was a yin and a yang that was going on. There was a group that was saying, "Hey, I am going to monetize on Chat GPT and this AI, and we're going to make." And the other side was like, "Wait, we created this as a nonprofit." So there was a great conversation and the tussle to be seen there, and that is healthy, right? That's competition right there. That makes it, that will give you, that is the evolution, two sides of the same story, but growing in a different manner to give you a complete perspective. And that's what growth and evolution should be. So look, there will always be missteps. It's AI in my mind is like a child. I have kids, and I'll tell you, they have all those missteps that they make, but then you guide them, you take them to the next level, and changes happen. So having absolutely insane amount of compliance, insane amount of regulation, I think that's not the way to go. I think it's let this system evolve in itself, and maybe in the future guide them through the whole thing through moderation.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you know I I may create a contradiction over here, but um, if people may know, email is still, one of those technologies which was loosely created and loosely controlled, because of which today we see a lot of spam. And the last thing we want is that AI becomes another technology mess in the longer run. We need to kind of have those checks and balances, and this is even bigger than just emails. I'd say totally agree with you, Raj. I think we need to definitely control and keep a check and balance in place, that no nation or no brand or no company should be big enough to drive it forward and kind of lead the pack or just create monopoly out of it. So yeah.
We have a couple more here. So, how can lenders use AI to create a model that's specific to a certain division? For instance, like using AI for equipment finance or auto finance specifically.
Sure,
Raj, you want to
absolutely.
take that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the first thing is I'm going to quote Hemant's earlier, the first few slides, right? 57% of the companies apply less than 5% of their digital spend on technology. Let's change that. Less than a year back, I was at a conference, and a head of an Arkansas bank was telling us, "Hey, uh, we are still a paper and pen based company, and like Hemant said, there's no LOS still being used by a lot of these corporations, etc. And we see this on a regular basis. So what needs to happen is the change has to come from within. Like, there are systems out there, adopt, grow with it. Don't think that you will be able to jump from paper and pen straight into the AI evolution right there. There are steps that you'll have to go through. The biggest component, and I'm going to digress a little bit, but the biggest component that is holding back growth or any kind of growth is the human factor on it. Now, that could be the human perception of risk or human fear, given a significant change, or the human inability to take in change that is coming in from their daily routine. So all of that has to be overcome, and that happens at the top level, at the leadership, has had the thought process that I need to spend more than 5% of my digital budget on creating a system out there. There are systems already there that are extremely efficient that will help solve the problem of the current industry. However, there's a huge change coming in. I mean, Steve Jobs talked about the power of the thumb. We are not even close to even envisioning or using the power of our thumb there. So, Hemant, to you.
Yeah, and I think if you talk about creating models, and if maybe I go a little technical there, so if we talk about creating models for specific type of lending, um, I would say even before we go there, we'll have to probably talk about first creating a model which will enable or help lending overall, which is what I believe Loan Mantra is trying to do as well. So I think we'll have to first create models which are more generic, which would help or enable these lending applications and move them forward before creating models specific for a type of lending or a type of lender or things like that. So I think first step is to start automating with the help of AI enabling the lending process. Once we go there, we lead to that, then we can probably talk about creating these specific models for specific type of lending, if I may. And then I would say it would be amalgamation of these specific, but I think in my opinion, we're looking at least 10 to 15 years, to even reach there, or maybe earlier, but I'm just kind of guessing it over here. So, do you have something to say on
Yeah.
that?
No, I think we summed it up pretty well here.
Yeah.
And to that point, how can AI help kind of mitigate risk for borrowers as the technology advances?
Sure, I can definitely speak to that. So, look, financial modeling. I started my career working for a large financial institution, an investment bank, and one of the things that they did was we did portfolio transactions, and they were constantly scrubbing through data. Hemant talked about data warehouses. I think Hemant, that was the word. That was the first thing I did. Believe it or not, I used to get tapes. Like if anybody knows what tapes are, they used to be literally you feed them in the machine and it would read that. So those were the things that large institutions are using to understand data, and the AI is going to help with that. I mean, there is. Again, as him said, I use ChatGPT. I love playing with ChatGPT, and I pay a lot of money monthly to, tinker around with this. And I've seen how Excel is incorporating ChatGPT into it and innovation. So all of that is going to help in financial modeling. It is going to take into factors such as geographical impacts, the larger macroeconomy impact, etc. And that is going to help the machine, help the human learn and predict certain outcomes better than what we can do right now. And it is this level of risk mitigation is essentially going to help us mitigate a lot of our losses.
Right. And I think on that point, I believe very rightly said. I think once those models are developed, I believe uh, applications like Loan Mantra and others which are developing AI to kind of help borrowers going forward would automatically be able to execute these models and give a risk profiles very early in the game, which would also help borrowers understanding on what's the limit or what is really needed to get a loan approved, or what is the risk on a particular loan profile for a lender, from a borrower side as well. And it would give them transparency, if I may, to understand on how these loans can be processed safe, fast, and transparently. So I think those innovation and that part of innovation as it progresses would help borrowers in a big way as we move forward.
And Claudia, I'm going to add one other thing. Look, we are talking of the included society. That means society that benefits from credit and traditional banking. One of the areas that I genuinely believe that AI will have a significant impact is further go into the underserved economy, the underserved population, where they are because they don't have a credit history or they have a somewhat of a negative credit history, etc. And AI is going to allow the humans to complement the human expertise to look further deep into the data, dive in and look into some of these communities and bring in those people into the fold of traditional banking. So all of this is the modeling. It's basically the way we look at data right now is what is going to be. It's the pattern that we can analyze better with the help of technology is essentially going to change the way everything happens in the world of finance.
Excellent. And then we also had a question about if you have any insight into what Bank of America is doing in AI. They seem to be the leader in finance for AI adoption. Do you have any insight into that?
I all I have to say is they're my former banks that they own one of them. That's all I know about that. So Hemant, I know nothing about Bank of America. Apologize. So this is all you, buddy.
Ah, man, I wish I had known the internal systems. I had not met anybody from Bank of America telling me anything about AI, although I've been to many conferences, attended, but I've never heard about Bank of America. From what I know, Bank of America is leading the pack in terms of customer support, and I've seen chatbots doing a good job over there. But then beyond that, I really would not like to comment or would be able to comment their internal systems that they're running on AI or what they're using in AI over there. So I think it'll be a more like a guess game if I say something. So I'd like to retain my comments over there. But yeah, from the customer support perspective, they're doing a good job. I'm a Bank of America customer myself, and I interact with their bot, and the bot is pretty good. I must say that. Yeah.
Look, I will tell you, I used to work at Mother Merrill, and one of the things is by virtue of inheriting Merrill Lynch during the financial crisis, one of the things that I'm sure that BFA, if they're doing already, is what we spoke about earlier, robo advisory. I think it was what was the herd of Wall Street is what it was called, the whole financial advisors, and I also having interacted with that, I'm pretty sure that their bank's AI advisory and client insight tools are probably what they are working towards. And again, please don't hold me to it. This is purely based on where I believe the company was probably looking at. I know I have, just like Hemant, of Bank of America account, and they use the Erica, which is the virtual assistant, the chatbot service that they use. But besides that, I apologize. Whoever asked the question, I think this is a conversation maybe for a BFA individual.
That's fair. And then a couple more before we end here. How can people get started in AI who don't know anything about it? Where should they start?
Okay. Um, Attend these kind of webinars, that would help you to start somewhere. And there's a ton of material available on YouTube. Google it. You would learn, or depends on what track of AI you want to get into. So if you want to become a more informed user, then I would advise to start using tools which are available, be it ChatGPT or, I use personally a tool called Pi.ai. It's an amazing LLM. Try and use these tools, try to accommodate AI in as many things as you can, use it for some real life scenarios, start over there as a user or more informed user. But if you would like to learn and understand how it works technically, I'd say there are a lot and ton of material on YouTube. So stop going through those Instagram stories and YouTube shorts and spend some more time on YouTube videos and learn from there. There is a ton of material which is available, and I think that can definitely help you in learning on what AI is and how AI works. And then you can experiment. One challenge which we always face is developing AI requires a lot of infrastructure, but pretty much Google or Microsoft or all the large infrastructure companies today, they are providing experimental GPU-based infrastructure which you can play around and you can start coding and start putting your programs over there and start executing these things. They have their own restrictions, probably not production stage, but you would be able to at least start playing around and learn a little bit about how AI can work for you, or you can make the AI work for you. Raj, you want to add something on that?
No, I look, before this conversation, I was telling you how I got into AI. I find it extremely intriguing. My first suggestion would be about learning AI, have a very understanding spouse. Because I'm telling you from personal experience, it is very addictive. It's a prompt-based system. It's like a toy for a kid, and you can think of something, you can imagine something. You can if you can articulate that on a prompt window, a small prompt window, and you can from there you can just keep playing. I have spent hours looking at various AI chat systems, and I spend days looking. I made videos. I have played, and it's just prompt. Like I think of something, I put it on thing, and I've written a song. I know nothing about songwriting, but you know what? Chat GPT, thank you for writing a song for me, for doing an ad. Just like the image that Hemant has shown, it'll just play. It's an expensive also. It's an besides the time consuming, it's an expensive endeavor. So it is. I spend about $65 a month on various subscriptions, because you subscribe to one, then you subscribe to the other. So it's also that, and again, just like what Hemant said, attend webinars and take a lot of notes. Like I know you can't see my thing, but I created a whole bunch of notes on just on conversation we've had. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a great idea. So the webinars, play with all the toys that's available out there. And yeah, YouTube.
And then let's just do one more before we wrap up here. Do you think financial advisors will be replaced by AI completely at any point?
Oh,
Um, I don't think so. I think, and I think this is a question which I've always seen being asked in any AI forum or AI event that I've been to, where people are afraid of AI, they are afraid of losing the job. And I think, Claudia, you come from marketing, you probably use AI every day to generate content. Has it replaced you? No, I don't think so. It can never replace creativity, it can never replace empathy, it can never replace intelligence that humans bring. Yes, it can replace the repetitive task, it can replace the uh, data analysis or mundane tasks that humans have kind of been doing years and years, and they really don't want to do, or there is not much value to it. I think that's where AI would excel over humans, but humans eventually would lead the pack. And in the similar context, financial advisors, I don't think they can be replaced, because a financial advisor would understand emotion, or would understand, your human objectives more clearly and more dearly than an AI would any day. So I don't think financial advisors have anything to be scared of. Instead, they should be really skilling their game up by understanding how to use better prompts and how to use AI going forward, and how to use better and better tools as we move forward with the AI and do a better job in what they do. And I think all these tools are going to be making their jobs easier, faster, and more secure, if I may. Raj, you come from that world. If you'd like to add something on that.
now, taking the BOFA example, I don't think Erica has removed my financial advisor. I still pick up the phone and call, talk to Mother Merrill, somebody at Mother Merrill. So, no, my answer is no, I don't think, because the end user is going to be the human being. And yes, the robo advisor is going to come in and help in a certain environment. Interesting thing is, and I'm going to go back again 25 years, my best example is I remember reading a New York Times or a New York Post article, and it talked about at the cusp of this evolution, .com evolution, how humans were going to be made obsolete. I mean, I think all of us remember the Sandra Bullock movie, The Net, and how that was the machine was just going to destroy a human life and everybody would be enslaved. Here we are, actually. All it has done is improved efficiency. I'm pretty sure that 90% of the people on this webinar are sitting in different city states and probably different countries, and here we are, by click of a button we are brought in all together in one environment, and we're learning so much from each other. So just like a financial advisor, the AI is going to help improve the efficiency. Then it is just going to be up to the human being to come up and match that efficiency. Just like the .com, it helped us bring, products to us, and that's what AI is. It's going to be another product, another service. It's just the level of efficiency has grown up, and the humans will have to come up and match to it. So I wouldn't worry about losing my job. I'll just have to worry about being a little bit more efficient and getting the job done a little better. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
Excellent.
a funny story before I let you end is my I remember my son was 3 year old, and he was given these problems for some, 2 plus 3, 5 plus 3, whatever. The guy just stopped calculating in his brain. All he was doing was using Alexa on the side and
My
saying,
good
"Hey,
man.
hi Alexa, what is 2 plus 3?
That
What is
is
3 plus 5?"
brilliant.
And that's what Gen Z is going to do. That's what the next generation is going to be. They will use technology which we are building. I always say that, and I think that's the way it is going to be. It's going to be part of our lives moving forward, and we would just, it'll be just like the way we say Google it. We'd be just saying AI it, and it's going to be just like that. So I don't think it's going to replace anything, but just help us make our lives better.
I love it. Well, thank you all so much for being on the webinar with us. Haman, if you want to go to the next slide. There are the contact information. So if you guys have any other questions, if you want to reach out to either Raj or Hemant, they are there to help you. They can answer any other additional questions that you may have had. I want to thank both of our speakers so much for the incredible information that you gave and the insightful information that you gave. And we hope that you guys all had took away something great from this. So thank you so much for being on the webinar. And like I said in the chat, we will definitely be recording this, and anyone that missed it, we will be emailing it out and posting it on our social media so that you can share it out as well. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Hemant and Raj.
Claudia, I
Thank you, Raj.
appreciate it.
Thanks,
Hemant,
Claudia.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Have a good one.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.